A man walks into a stone courtyard as the evening heat finally begins to break. He is not carrying a weapon. Most people read the Gospels and assume these meals are just narrative transitions. We treat them as the background scenery. She unbinds her hair, an act of absolute social suicide in the ancient world, and uses it as a towel. And then, the smell of the room shifts. The aroma of roasted meat is instantly overpowered by the heavy, suffocating scent of crushed myrrh. She breaks an alabaster jar. Simon watches this, and his theology recoils. He says to himself, if this man were a prophet, he would know who is touching him. To Simon, the woman is a contagion. Her touch is a defilement. He assumes Jesus is just ignorant of her reputation. But Jesus turns to Simon, and he dismantles the Pharisees' entire worldview with a rhythm of contrasts. Simon gave no water for the dust. She gives her tears. Simon gave no kiss of greeting. She kisses his feet without stopping. Simon gave no oil for his head. She pours pure nard on his feet. Simon looks at the floor and sees a scandal. Jesus looks at the floor and sees a worshiper. The table is not a fortress for the righteous. It is a sanctuary for the bankrupt. Jesus looks at the woman and tells her that her sins are forgiven. He speaks salvation over her right in front of the religious elite, and the men at the table begin to mutter, asking who this man thinks he is. They finally realize that this rabbi is doing more than breaking social etiquette. He is acting like he owns the house. He is acting like he is the host of the universe, the quiet downtime, where Jesus rests before he gets back to the real work of preaching, healing, and challenging the empire. We think the food is just food. Every time he sits down, he redefines who belongs. But the most staggering meal of his entire ministry does not happen inside a walled courtyard. It happens on a desolate hillside, where there are no walls, no ceilings, and absolutely no boundaries left to draw. Look at the architecture of the wilderness narrative across the four Gospels. The stone courtyards disappear. The city walls vanish. The religious elite lose their jurisdiction. Jesus moves into the wild. The crowds follow. 5,000 men. Thousands more women and children. The sun drops low. The wind off the water turns cold. Hunger sets in. The disciples calculate the logistics. 200 denarii. 8 months of wages. They demand a dismissal. Send them away. Let them buy their own food. But Jesus demands a feast. He orders them to sit. Mark records a specific, bizarre detail. They sit on the damp green grass in groups of hundreds and fifties. It is the exact language of the book of Exodus. It is the organizational structure of Israel wandering the desert under Moses. Jesus is not just hosting a massive picnic. He is reconstituting a nation. He takes 5 barley loaves and 2 small, salted fish. You can smell the rough grain and the dried brine. He looks up to heaven. 4 verbs anchor the Greek text. He takes, he blesses, he breaks, he gives. This is a rhythm. It is a formula. It will echo into eternity. But if you look closer at the deep cultural currents of the first-century Roman and Jewish world, you realize something terrifying. And look closely at who is eating. The boundaries of the Roman triclinium do not exist out here. The zealot sits next to the Roman sympathizer. The ritually clean Pharisee sits on the same dirt as the bleeding woman. The healthy eat next to the leprous. They chew the exact same bread. They swallow the exact same fish. No hand-washing rituals. No tithing checks. No hierarchy of cushions. The bread is not a logistical solution to a hungry crowd. It is the inauguration of the messianic banquet. It is the prophet Isaiah's ancient vision coming to life in the Galilean dirt. A feast for all peoples. A mountain where division is swallowed up. 12 wicker baskets remain when the meal is over. Exactly 12. One for every fractured tribe of Israel. One for every doubting disciple holding a basket in the twilight. Grace always produces a surplus. Every barrier of the ancient world is leveled on that hillside. The table of God is suddenly wide open. The invitation is entirely free. But that open invitation comes with a brutal, unavoidable cost. The pattern of taking, blessing, breaking, and giving has to be finalized. And the fulfillment of that rhythm requires a locked room, a heavy wooden table, and a cup of crimson wine on the darkest night of human history. A heavy wooden door locks in Jerusalem. The city outside is swelling with Passover pilgrims. But inside this dimly lit upper room, the air is thick with tension. The meal is not the background. The meal is the weapon. And understanding the politics of who is passing the cup, you can smell the roasted lamb, the bitter herbs, and the sharp tang of the wine. Jesus reclines at the table with 12 men. One of them has already sold him for 30 pieces of silver. Jesus picks up a piece of unleavened bread. It cracks loudly in his hands. He performs the exact same rhythm from the Galilean hillside. He takes, he blesses, he breaks, he gives. But tonight, he changes the ancient script. He does not say, "This is the bread of affliction our fathers ate." He says, "This is my body, given for you." Look closely at who is reclining with him. Judas is there, leaning on a cushion, breathing the same air. In the ancient world, you do not share a meal with a traitor. To eat with an enemy is a violation of the highest social order. But Jesus dips the bread into the dish and hands it directly to the man who will orchestrate his execution. He offers him the food. He shares the table with his own betrayer. This meal is not a polite religious ceremony. It is the ultimate subversion of enemy lines. He is taking the symbol of the Exodus, the ultimate story of liberation, and turning it into a covenant of his own blood. He is telling them that the new kingdom will not be built by swords, but by a body broken like the bread they are chewing. Changes how you read every single chapter of the 4 Gospels. The real question of these dinners isn't, what were they eating? It is this. Fast forward 3 days. The tomb is empty. 2 disciples are walking away from Jerusalem on the dusty road to Emmaus. Their hearts are completely crushed. The sky is turning the bruised purple of twilight, and they are trying to make sense of a dead Messiah. A stranger joins them on the road. They walk. They talk. The stranger explains the scriptures to them with burning clarity. But they do not see him. They do not recognize the risen Christ walking right beside them. They reach a stone house in the village. They sit at a wooden table. The stranger picks up a loaf of rough bread. Watch the verbs. Luke writes them with deliberate, echoing precision. He takes it. He blesses it. He breaks it. He gives it. The exact same rhythm from the hillside. The exact same rhythm from the upper room. And suddenly, the text says, their eyes are opened. The Greek word here implies a sudden, violent, unblinding. They do not recognize him in the brilliant theological discourse on the road. They do not recognize him in the exposition of the prophets. They recognize him in the breaking of the bread. The covenant action of the table is the only thing that pulls the veil from their eyes. But that exact same table did not disappear when the first century ended. It just changed locations. What does it take to sit at the table of God? We need to understand this, because we still build our tables the exact same way. We do not recline on cushions anymore. We do not worry about ceremonial washings before we eat. We think we have evolved past the strict, suffocating boundaries of the Pharisees. But look at the tables we build today. We build them in our churches, in our politics, in our digital spaces. We draw the exact same invisible lines. We decide who is doctrinally clean enough to sit with us. We decide who is politically acceptable. We scan the guest list to make sure our associations won't contaminate our reputation. We build phantom tables, and we guard them just as fiercely as Simon the Pharisee guarded his courtyard. We look at people who vote differently, who sin differently, who suffer differently, and we quietly ensure they stay outside the gate. The scandal of the first century table is not a historical artifact. It is a direct assault on the boundaries you are drawing right now. Jesus did not come to host a private dinner club for the morally immaculate. He came to set a table in the middle of a graveyard and invite the dead to eat. We still draw invisible lines around who belongs, who is clean, who is politically acceptable, and who must be kept quietly outside the gate. If you are in a season where you feel like you are standing outside the courtyard, staring through the lattice. At a table you are too broken to approach if you feel like your history, your failure, or your hidden shame disqualifies you from the bread. You need to look at the hands breaking it. He does not ask Levi to get his life together before he enters the house. He does not ask the weeping woman to clean her face before she touches his feet. He does not wait for Judas to repent before he offers him the bread. The requirement for the table is not perfection. The requirement is hunger. The bread is not a reward for the righteous. It is medicine for the desperate. An understanding that changes everything about how we walk away from this meal. Look at the trail of bread he leaves behind. A wedding in Cana runs out of wine, and the jars are filled to the brim with grace. A tax collector hosts a banquet of traitors, and the doctor arrives for the sick. A Pharisee sweeps his courtyard to keep the dirt out, and a weeping woman washes the dust from the feet of God. We are a species obsessed with boundaries, desperate to know we are on the inside of the room. Jesus was not just offering a bumper sticker. A desolate hillside starves 5,000 men, and the bread multiplies until 12 baskets remain. A locked room holds a betrayer in the dark, and the host passes the cup to his own enemy. A dusty road blinds 2 disciples with grief, and their eyes rip open at the sound of tearing bread. A foggy beach watches the sun rise over the water, and a resurrected Savior cooks breakfast for the friends who abandoned him. Same rhythm, same God. But maybe the part that stays with me most is the word sunestio, the absolute scandal of eating together. He didn't just drop bread from the sky and remain untouchable. He reclined. He leaned his weight into the dirt of our world. He sat at the table and absorbed the accusations, the muttering, the uncleanness, the absolute mess of human existence. He took the contamination, so he could pass the purity. And if you are in a season where you feel too far gone, too unclean, too compromised to sit at the table, if the phantom tables of this world have convinced you that you do not belong, hear the rhythm of the one who breaks the bread. He takes, he blesses, he breaks, he gives. He is not afraid of your dirt. He is not intimidated by your history. The invitation is already spoken, and the bread is already torn. And may the God who shatters every boundary we build to keep each other out meet you. About being friendly to strangers. He was diagnosing a profound disease in the human soul. He was attacking a system of division that we still use today. At the table of your deepest hunger, and feed you with the life you could not earn. A meal in the ancient Near East was not a biological necessity. It was a covenant declaration. He is not holding a scroll of the Torah. He is simply looking for a place to sit. To feel the absolute scandal of what Jesus is doing, you cannot just look at the bread. You have to step into the architecture of a first-century dining room. You have to understand what it meant to share a piece of fish with a traitor. In the ancient Mediterranean world, you do not eat with just anyone. The table is a mirror. It reflects your status. It secures your purity. It broadcasts your theology. Look at the Greco-Roman culture dominating the first century. They eat in a triclinium, 3 couches arranged in a U-shape around a central wooden table. The cushions are stuffed with rough reeds. Oil lamps flicker and cast long, dancing shadows on the plastered walls. You lean on your left elbow. You eat with your right hand. You dip your bread into the same shallow bowl of bitter herbs as the man next to you. Every inch of space is calculated. The host sits in the middle. The guest of honor reclines to his immediate right. The lowest servant sits at the farthest end. Your position on that cushion tells the entire room exactly what you are worth. The Jewish world takes this social hierarchy and adds something heavier: purity. To a first-century Pharisee, the dining room is a temple in miniature. The white dust of the Galilean road is still thick on his feet, and the heavy smell of roasted lamb and baking bread hangs in the stagnant air. The table is an altar. The food must be tithed. The hands must be ritually washed. Cold water splashes from stone jars into bronze basins. The smell of garlic and olive oil mingles with the sharp scent of damp wool robes. Everything must be immaculate. You do not share a loaf of bread with a Gentile. You do not pass the wine to a publican. You do not recline next to a prostitute. If you eat with a sinner, you endorse their sin. If you break their bread, you absorb their uncleanness. Food is not a biological transaction. It is communion. To share a meal is to say, I am at peace with you. It is an unbreakable bond of mutual protection. To the ancient mind, the food goes into your body. The same food goes into my body, and we literally become one flesh. You cannot undo a shared meal. This system creates a perfectly ordered society. The righteous stay with the righteous. The unclean stay outside the gate. The boundaries are clear. The walls are high. Everyone knows exactly where they belong. This segregation is not a social preference. It is a survival strategy. Israel is an occupied nation. He takes a spot at a low, U-shaped wooden table. He leans on his left elbow, and the moment his hand touches the bread, Roman boots march through the cobblestone streets. Taxes drain the life out of the fishing villages. The religious leaders believe that if they just keep the law perfectly, if they just keep the tables perfectly pure, God will finally send the Messiah to liberate them. The strict separation is their desperate attempt to pull heaven down to earth. But they are looking in the wrong direction. Because the Messiah does not stay in the clean room, the boundaries are about to shatter. And the explosion begins at a crowded toll booth on the edge of the sea. Capernaum sits on the northern edge of the Sea of Galilee, a thriving hub of trade where the Roman Empire extracts its toll. Levi sits in a wooden booth by the water, listening to the clacking of copper coins and the muttered curses of local fishermen. He is a Jewish man collecting taxes for a pagan occupying army. He is a traitor. His hands are perpetually unclean, stained by the currency of the oppressor. And no respectable religious teacher would ever allow his shadow to fall across Levi's threshold. Jesus walks up to the booth. He says 2 words, "Follow me." And then, the unthinkable happens. The scene shifts. The religious leaders standing at the edge of the courtyard tense up, their linen robes rustling in the dry wind. They are watching his hands. From the sun-baked toll booth to the courtyard of a sprawling stone house, Levi throws a massive banquet. The wooden tables are groaning under the weight of roasted meat, fresh bread, and heavy earthen jars of wine. But the guest list is a religious nightmare. The courtyard is packed with other tax collectors, extortionists, and the outcast dregs of Galilean society. The air is loud with laughter and the clattering of clay cups. And right in the middle of it all, reclining on a cushion, tearing off a piece of warm bread, is the rabbi from Nazareth. The Pharisees and the teachers of the law are standing outside, watching through the lattice. They do not come in, because crossing the threshold would render them ceremonially unclean. They stare at the dirt on the floor, the spilled wine, the absolute contamination of a holy teacher mixing with the human refuse of the city. They pull their robes tight. They turn to his disciples and ask the question that will echo through the rest of his ministry. Why does he eat with tax collectors and sinners? To the Pharisees, holiness is fragile. It must be protected by distance. If a clean person touches an unclean person, the clean person becomes defiled. The rot always spreads upward, but Jesus operates on an entirely different physics. They are watching who sits next to him. They are watching to see if the holy will contaminate itself with the profane of purity. When Jesus touches the leper, he does not become unclean. The leper becomes clean. And when Jesus sits at the table with traitors, he is not absorbing their sin. He is bringing the presence of God into the graveyard of their lives. This meal is not a compromise of his holiness. It is an invasion of grace. He tells the Pharisees watching from the shadows that it is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. He is framing the table not as a shrine to reward the perfect, but as a hospital bed to revive the broken. He is dismantling the boundaries of the ancient world, one piece of bread at a time. But to truly grasp how shocking this hospital ward actually was, you have to look at the exact words the gospel writers use to describe what happened around that food. There is a detail hiding in plain sight within the original language that carries a weight most English translations completely miss. Mark chapter 2, verse 15. Jesus is in the house of Levi, surrounded by the outcasts of Capernaum. Most English Bibles simply say that Jesus sat at dinner or was dining with them. But the words the Greek New Testament uses paint a far more provocative picture. He does this again and again. A wedding celebration in Cana where the wine runs out. A tax collector's extravagant house in Capernaum. The first word is katakemai, or in Luke's account, kataklino. It literally means to recline, to lay back, to stretch out. Jesus is not perched on a stiff wooden chair, keeping his feet firmly planted near the exit in case the party gets out of hand. He is leaning his full weight back into the coarse reeds of the floor cushion. In the ancient Mediterranean, you only reclined with family. You only exposed your posture this way with trusted friends. In an environment of complete security and vulnerable ease. The second word is the verb for what they are doing. The text says he ate with them. The Greek word is sunestio. It is a compound word. Sun, meaning together or with, and estio, meaning to eat. Sunestio. It does not mean simply chewing your food in the same general vicinity as someone else. It means to share the exact same loaf, to dip your hands into the same shallow clay bowl, to intimately partake as equals. It is the exact same word the Apostle Paul uses decades later in 1 Corinthians 5, when he commands the church not to sunestio, not to eat with someone claiming to be a brother who is living in unrepentant darkness. A strict Pharisee's immaculate courtyard. A desolate grassy hillside with 5,000 hungry mouths. A locked upper room in Jerusalem as a betrayal is put into motion, precisely because of what that shared meal implies. It implies full endorsement. It implies unbreakable solidarity. When Jesus engages in sunestio with the tax collectors, tearing the gritty flatbread and breathing in the smell of roasted fish, he is doing the unthinkable. He is not just tolerating them, he is identifying with them. If realizing the sheer gravity of this ancient table is stirring up questions you've never considered, you're exactly who this channel is for. Drop a thought in the comments and hit subscribe, because every week we go deeper into the text than you knew was possible. So the scandal of sunestio ripples out from Capernaum to the religious elite. This Greek word was a theological disaster. By reclining and eating together, Jesus was effectively saying, "These traitors are my blood." He was erasing the boundary lines they had spent centuries trying to fortify. The table is not a polite social call. It is a cosmic adoption. He is showing them that the kingdom of God does not operate on the physics of contagion. Holiness is not a fragile piece of glass that shatters when it touches the dirt. It is a fire that purifies whatever it touches. But the most dangerous meal Jesus ever ate was not with a tax collector. It was not with the outcasts. A foggy beach at dawn with charcoal smoke drifting over the water. Same action. Over and over. The meal that truly threatened to break the system apart happened in the immaculate, perfumed dining room of a saint. The courtyard of Simon the Pharisee is immaculate. Every stone is swept. Every clay cup is ritually washed. The air smells of roasted lamb and the faint, sharp tang of expensive wine. Jesus has been invited not as a friend, but as a theological curiosity. He takes his place on the cushion. He reclines at the table. But Simon does not offer him the basic customs of a first-century host. No basin of water to wash the chalky road dust from his feet. No kiss of greeting. No common olive oil for his head. Jesus is allowed at the table, but he is being kept at a calculated distance. Then, the courtyard goes completely silent. A woman walks in. Luke calls her simply a woman of the city. A sinner. She does not belong in this neighborhood, let alone inside the private dining area of a strict religious leader. You can hear the gasp of the guests. You can hear the rustle of linen as the men pull their robes tight against their legs. Terrified, her shadow might brush against them. She does not look at the Pharisees. She does not look at the scowling servants. She drops to the cold stone floor at the feet of Jesus. She is weeping so violently that her tears begin to wash the dirt from his skin.